Hi Booktube, it's Amy. So I just walked in my door and I'm going to do this now before the winter daylight leaves us. It's about almost 4:30 here, 20 after 4. But we've got book mail today. There's a little one and there's a great big one, which I hope is okay because I dropped it on the floor trying to lift it out of the parcel box with one hand while holding a number of other things, including the first parcel. Let's open the big one first. Actually, no, let's open the small one first because I think the big one is going to take a little bit longer to go through. So I won't hold you in suspense about what's in the small one. I will open this up, and it's just a small little book, and this is by an author that I have another work from on book collecting. This is Round and About the Bookstalls by J.H. Slater, and this is a reprint in red cloth. They didn't seem to have on any of the marketplaces any of the first edition printings when I was looking, at least not for the right price. I was looking for cheap and accessible. And so it doesn't say when this was reprinted, but the original would have been from 1891. And here it says, this edition is limited to 1,000 copies and is a facsimile republication of the original 1891 London edition. And it's sort of, I don't know, maybe sometime between the 50s and the 70s. That would be my best guess based on how it looks. But it's hard to say, right? Published by Canterbury Bookshop, Wabash Avenue, Chicago. So this is an American reprint. And here we have a little preface. I'll read you the preface before I move on to what's in the other box. But the preface says, this is essentially a work for the book hunter. In it, I have endeavored to point clearly and concisely to those classes of books which are now but little thought of, but which should rise in value in the near future, and also to those books of present value which, though of mean appearance, are likely to be met with on the stalls of dealers. The principles upon which books of all kinds derive their value and importance are also stated and discussed. In each of these respects, the work is, so far as I'm aware, unique. March 1891. And we have a table of contents here. I'll just show you what it says there. But we have a number of chapters. It looks like 8 chapters here. Money and Books, The Golden Days, The Modern Book Hunter, 10 Years Hence or Less, Unconsidered Trifles, Rough Diamonds, Rules to Follow, and To the Reader. And there is the first page of the first chapter. But this should be a fun, slim little read. And I think this is the one that Sean D. Standfast and I were going to both read through together because he's got a copy of it, and so I went hunting for a copy. But moving on to the big box, which I am sure everyone here is curious about. This might take a minute to open here because it is well taped, which is good considering I dropped it on the floor. I dropped it on the floor in the entrance of the building, and as I was picking it up and blocking the door to the outside, one of my neighbors who was out for his cigarette had to stop and wait for me to get my parcels together. And this is a good box. I'm going to save and reuse this box. It's hard to find a good box these days. Bubble wrap? Well, that's interesting. I don't know I've ever seen bubble wrap like this used for books. There is a nicely bubble wrapped stack, more bubble wrap, and the box to the side. So I will gently as can be free these books from their bubble wrap. these ones are coming from, so the first book was coming from Powell's Books in Chicago. And these ones, I believe, are from, let me just look, because they don't, I think it was Capricorn Books, but we'll see. It could very well be that the packing slip is inside of the brown paper. But I always say it's the mark of a good bookseller when books are well wrapped like this. So there we have it, brown paper, and we're almost there. We've almost made it through all the packaging. Yes, inside we do have the packing slip here. And it says, thank you for your order. So this is from Capricorn Books in Oakville, Ontario. And I think I've ordered from Capricorn Books before. They tend to send things very quickly. But this is what we have here. We have 4 volumes of the colophon from the 1930s. We have spring 1936, winter 1936, autumn 1935, and summer 1935. And I will just hold the spines up so you can have a good look. Pause the video if you like, if you want to read those spines. And then we will take a closer look at each of them. So we'll start with the one on the top here. And these are in great condition. They are hardback. They all have these great cover art. So summer of 1935. Number 1, new series, volume 1, $1.80 a copy or $6 a year back in 1935. Little bit of discoloration foxing on the top, little bit of discoloration on the back. But for something that is 90 years old now, they're not bad. And so let's take a look inside this first volume. That is beautiful to look at there. So number 1, volume 1, the colophon is published 4 times a year by Pinson Printers Incorporated in New York. It was established in 1929, and the first issue was February 1930. And this part 1 of the new series was issued in July, it says. And it lists the editors, Elmer Adler, Alfred Stanford, and John T. Winterick. And there is a whole list of contributing editors. Once again, pause the video if you want to read that full list. But the colophon is full of wonderful essays, articles on all things books, and particularly book collecting. So in this first volume here from summer of 1935, we have one that interests me very much. America's First Bibles, Burt Emmett, Herman Melville as I recall him, Fly Specks and Folios, Stephen Collins Foster, dramatic collaborator, Waverley in America, Alexander Dumas, benefactor, George Eliot and John Chapman, a fragment, more about the Mousetrap, a note on the monk, Longfellow's Original Sin of Imitation, who wrote English novels, a note on Hemingway, an early American story of utopia, some recent books about paper, and The Crow's Nest. And I will show you the full content. So once again, if you'd like to read the full list and the authors, you can pause the video here and have a look, and hopefully we're well focused. And all of the articles have these wonderful illustrations throughout. And so we begin with the one on Burt Emmett. There's the one on America's First Bibles, which Also has a title page reproduced in there. But this is going to give me many hours of very enjoyable reading. And I think I have already somewhere on the shelf here perhaps a copy of the colophon, or maybe it's something else. I think it might be... Yes, there it is. I'm going to just pull down the copy of the colophon I already have before we continue on, and I'll show you that one as well here. So this one's a little bit different, also hardback, but this is spring of 1938, and this is actually cloth compared to the paper, so we can see how the printing changed in just a few short years. And we won't look too much at spring of 1938 because that's not the haul today. But they continued on that tradition of wonderful cover imagery. And this one I paid $30 for maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I came across it in person in a bookshop here. And I had always been meaning to, go and find more of the editions in the periodical. But up until this point I hadn't, and I need to remember what I paid for these because I know it was a pretty good deal. And it's not even going to tell me on the receipt here. But I think it was, well, I know it was less than $30 per copy. So there was Summer of 1935. And here is Autumn of 1935. Same exact cover image, just a different color. And I think I kind of prefer it in this kind of mahogany red color as opposed to the bluish green there. So Autumn of 1935, number 2, new series, volume 1, still $1.80 per copy. And there is our title page once again, a quarterly for bookmen, and our list of editors. Let me see, let me do a comparison. I'm pretty sure it's the same exact editors here: Elmer Adler, Alfred Stanton, and John T. Winterich. So the editors did not change in the year 1935. Here's our table of contents, and I'll read aloud in just a minute everything that is listed here in the Autumn 1935 volume. The Old Woman Who Lives in a Book by Cod Hillsop. Pollyanna, 1, a Valentine, and 2, a Parrot. Frank Holm, newspaper artist and designer of books. Oft Subject Books by John Carter. John Carter is a familiar name in my reading of essays from this era. Deathless Lady by Ralph Thompson. The Parson Printer of Lustly by Carol D. Coleman. Whitman Discovery, a Frontier Bibliophile. The Literature of Alchemy, Proofreading in the 16th and 17th Centuries. The Lady, the Tiger, and the Author. Samuel Butler, the First Century. The Haunted Book Concerning Huckleberry Finn, Notes and Queries. The Crow's Nest, and I think that was it, the Crow's Nest there. Let's see if there are any interesting images that pop out at me here. I just passed one that I kind of wanted to show, but now I've lost it. Where did it go? It was a woman in a very large bonnet. It's not showing up again, but here's a different one. There is a poem there reproduced. So that is Autumn of 35. And then we have lying here Winter of 1936. Number 3, New Series, Volume 1. Still $1.80 per copy. We've got the blue again. And so it would appear that they, well, actually, you know what? No, it's a slightly different blue. I don't know how it shows up on camera, but the blue is slightly different. But the same image. This woman here who is running has a little bit of a nip slip going on. And it looks like this young man is searching for her. I'm assuming it probably represents some figures in perhaps Greek or Roman mythology. It sort of gives that vibe. So let's see, what do we have here? We have the, oh, interesting. We'll take a look at this in a minute that just fell out. But we have the consistent title page. We have the same editors. So the same 3 core editors there. And in our table of contents, we have the launching of Bancroft's Native Races, the St. Mary's City Press, a new chronology of American printing, A Scot in America, Parson Weems' Washington Once More by A. Edward Newton. And the presence of A. Edward Newton is one of the factors that led to me buying this particular batch of the Colophon, because I am an avid reader and collector of the works of A. Edward Newton. The Collier Cruikshank Punch and Judy, The Unfamiliar Autocrat, Mr. Maud Remonstrates, The Path of the Pioneer, 1866 Appleton Alice, Book Collector, Italian, 17th century, A Packet of News from 18th century England, Notes and Queries, and The Crow's Nest. And so it seems that Notes and Queries and The Crow's Nest became perhaps consistent features in each of the Colophon editions. Let's see if there's an interesting image that catches our eye. And so, not quite sure what this is, but we have some reproductions of something in here. I'm not quite sure what that is because I haven't read the article for the context, but it looks like something to do with Maryland, printed by order of the Assembly of the City of St. Mary's, August 26th, 1689. And so that will be something interesting to figure out what's going on there. But let's take a look at the thing that fell out. So this, Wanted, fell out. This is advertisement. Wanted, help, male and female, Colophonians to whom the quarterly is a joy to eye and heart, who will search out friends in whose libraries the Colophon would also be a source of pleasure. Wages, deep personal gratitude of the editors, and as a mark of that gratitude, a linoleum print in 5 colors by Richard Floth, printed on Goyu paper mounted for framing and signed by the artist. Limited number of signed prints available. This offer can only hold good while they last. How to get your print? Fill out the attached blank and mail with the $6 for the subscription to the Colophon, 229 W 43rd Street, New York. And so this is a rather creative advertisement. We see similar things in current magazines where they want you to buy a subscription for a friend or family member. And I guess the first number of people who purchase that subscription for a friend or family member are going to get a free print mailed to them. Let's open up on the inside. tear off attached envelope. So this is an envelope, actually. Here's the little pocket. There's the back. And so you'd tear it here, and this would fold over. And you can see the dried out adhesive that you would lick to make sure that your envelope is closed. But it says tear off attached envelope. Fill in the name and address of the new subscriber and also the name and address for the colored linoleum print signed proof. Insert check or money order in the pocket of the envelope. Retain this memo, and if you do not receive acknowledgement promptly, write the colophone 229W43, New York. And then it says date. Oh, but that's interesting. They want you to insert your check in this tiny pocket. So either checks were once much smaller than what we're used to, or it was once normal to, I guess, fold your check in half. But then on this side it says the colophone attached. $6 check or money order is for the 4 parts of Volume 1, new series to be sent to. And then it has a line for the name, the street, and the city. The special colored linoleum print signed proof is to be sent to, once again, name, street, city. And so there is that. That's kind of neat to find in here. Evidently, the owner of this set did not purchase a subscription for their friend or family member. But I'll just go ahead and tuck that right back in there. And we'll take a look at the final volume here, which is Spring of 1936, number 4. And this is, the bottom is purple, and this is kind of, it's sort of pink, but it's really it's just beige. It's beige with a hint of pink in there. And it's probably not necessarily showing up great in this lighting as the sun goes down out there, and we rely on the overhead bedroom light. But there we go, same title page and same main editors. So what do we have here? Oh, I'm just noticing though, they've removed the prices on the front here, and the price has gone up. The price has gone up significantly. By the spring of 1936, an annual subscription was $10, and the individual copy was $2.80. Compare that. So the annual subscription has gone up by $2, and an individual copy has gone up by a full $1, which was certainly more than it is today, back in 1936. And so our table of contents: the president as author, a London bookseller's ledger of 1535, the imprints of A. Edward Newton and Company, 1887 to 1893. That one will interest me because of the Newton connection. Connecticut pastoral wood engraving, a Connecticut Yankee in King Alfred's County, or country rather, King Alfred's country. Northern Bryant and Southern Hayne. My Memoirs of the Civil War. Series of books about books. Bibliographical notes on James Joyce's Ulysses. On Being Famous. Rockwell, Before or After. The McGuffey Readers. Jolly Old Pedagogue. Practical Education. And followed by Notes and Queries, The Crow's Nest. And this time we have an index listed. And I'll make sure I show you the contents so you can pause the video and read the full list of authors if you so choose. Let's see, let's find an image. Here we go. There's an image in a Connecticut Yankee in King Alfred's County. An illustration just included in here. And what else do we have? Here's another illustration. But there we go. There is the set of, let's make sure they're all the right side up. The set of 4 in varying colors. And let's just take a look at the other volume I have on the shelf here that's a little bit different. So spring of 1938. So this is 2 years after the spring of 1936, where it was $2.80 per volume, or $10 a year. Let's see if it tells us how much it cost in 1938. Oh, that's interesting. In 1938, it was still only $10 for the annual subscription, and the individual copy was still $2.80, which maybe they were able to get away with that by changing their binding. Or perhaps the $1.80 was artificially low to begin with, and it was more likely they should have been charging that higher price all along, but who knows. Pinson Printers, issued in May. And we still have the same 3 editors, Elmer Adler, Alfred Stanford, John T. Winterich. But we have a 4th name that is listed first in 1938, Frederick B. Adams, Jr. So there's our list of editors in 1938. And I have to say, this image is quite funny. All these men are so engrossed in their books that they're paying absolutely no attention to the woman bathing literally right in front of them, or behind them, because they've got their backs turned. But yes. And now I have an interesting dilemma, because this was tucked up on the shelf between other books, and I think I'm obviously going to want to shelve all my colophons together, and so I am going to have to do a little bit of rearranging at some point. It's a little bit of more of a dilemma, because this whole row of the 5 big bookshelves here are entirely full, and the small bookshelf in the main room of my apartment is full, and there is some shelf space over to my left next to the bed, but that is going to require moving of shoes and other non-bookish items and important papers. So this could get interesting, because of course, as soon as I start to rearrange one thing, I want to make sure that everything new that has arrived is grouped with the things that I connect them with in my mind. Because even though my books aren't organized in, alphabetical order or anything, or technically by subject matter, there are certain books that I just feel belong together, and certain books that are just shelved together because there is a connection in my mind, or in my own reading journey. And so I think these colophones have got to be together, but there's no more space up there. This colophon was shelved between an Oliver Goldsmith and Parnassus on Wheels by Christopher Morley, and it can't be there anymore because 5 are not going to fit in the spot that once fit 1. So there we go, book mail. And this one's going to be fun too. I don't want to forget about this one. But that is a great first book haul of 2025, if I have to say so.